Here's a number, 35,000. That's how many decisions the average person makes in a single day. What to eat, what to wear, what to reply to, what to ignore, what to worry about, and critically, what to stop worrying about, which is itself a decision. Our grandparents made fewer, not because they were wiser, because geography made most choices for them. 3 jobs in town, 2 people worth marrying, 1 thing on the menu. We got options, we got freedom, we got the internet, and somehow after all of that, a remarkable number of us are lying awake at 2 a.m., feeling like we're losing at a game we never agreed to play. This is about why that's happening, and what you can actually do about it, beyond the standard advice of going for a walk or trying journaling, which, if it had worked for you, you wouldn't be watching this. Before anything else, you're not imagining it, and you're not just weak. There are specific structural reasons this is happening. The first is that you are drowning in information. The human brain evolved to process roughly the amount of information available in a small village. Local news, local drama, the weather. We are now consuming more before breakfast than most people in the 19th century encountered in a month. News that never stops. Notifications, group chats, emails, podcasts on the commute, scrolling before sleep, all of it requiring a response, or at minimum a reaction, or at minimum the deliberate decision to let it go, which costs something every single time. Your brain isn't broken. It's running software designed for a world that no longer exists. Then there's the comparison problem. Social media has created something genuinely unprecedented, a way to compare yourself in real time to a curated highlight reel of hundreds of people simultaneously. Previous generations compared themselves to their neighbors, maybe their colleagues, a manageable number of people who are visibly also struggling. Now you're comparing your interior, the anxiety, the doubt, the mess, to everyone else's exterior performance. It is not a fair fight, and your brain, which evolved long before Instagram, cannot tell the difference between someone's actual life and the version they chose to post. Worth noting, the people whose lives look most effortless are usually spending the most effort on that appearance. The irony isn't lost, it's just extremely unhelpful. There's also a deeper confusion that's harder to name. Most of us grew up with a rough mental template. Education, some version of a career, stability, a life that compounds over time. What nobody adequately explained is that this template was built on economic conditions that have shifted significantly and haven't been replaced with anything new. So you're holding a map. It isn't wrong exactly, it's just for a different city. The result is a background noise that isn't quite failure and isn't quite grief, but sits somewhere between the two, and is very difficult to explain to anyone who isn't feeling it. And then there's what the phone has done to everything else. Less diplomatically, chronic overstimulation has recalibrated what counts as enjoyable. Phones are dopamine slot machines. Pull the feed, something new appears, maybe it's interesting, probably it isn't, you pull again. After enough of that, ordinary life registers as almost unbearably quiet. Not because sitting still or reading or a conversation without a screen has changed, because your baseline has moved. Things that would have felt rich and absorbing a decade ago now feel like they have no volume. This isn't permanent, but it does require deliberate intervention, which brings us to what you can actually do. These aren't 10 steps, and there's no morning routine involved. Nobody is asking you to wake up at 5 a.m. These are 6 specific things, chosen because they work at the level of the actual problem, not the symptom. The first is to shrink your frame. When everything feels impossible, the instinct is to zoom out, to get a grip on the whole picture, the career, the finances, the relationships, the future. This is a mistake. Trying to see the full map clearly when you're overwhelmed is like reading it during an earthquake. Shrink the frame instead. Not, what do I want in 5 years? That question isn't useful right now. The question is, what's one thing today that would make today slightly less bad? Not transformative, not optimized, just less bad. This sounds defeatist. It isn't. Momentum doesn't care about the scale of the action that started it. Small concrete things done today create capacity for the next thing. Big abstract goals when you're already underwater create paralysis. Small actions create motion, and motion after long enough is indistinguishable from progress. The second, do one physical thing with your hands. Cook something, fix something, build something, grow something, clean something if it's come to that. The brain has a negativity bias. It defaults to problem solving, threat anticipation, replaying difficult conversations at 3 a.m., useful for survival. less useful for getting through a Tuesday. Physical tasks with visible outputs short-circuit that loop. They give the brain something clean: action, feedback, result. The pasta is cooked or it isn't. The shelf is level or it isn't. The brain gets a hit of completion, something that screen-based work rarely provides because digital work has no natural end state. There's always more. The inbox doesn't empty. The feed doesn't run out. This isn't about exercise. Exercise more isn't the point. The point is making something that exists in the world rather than on a screen. There's a reason people who feel most unmoored tend to start gardening. Plants grow on a visible timeline, require your attention, and have never once sent a notification. Apparently that's enough. The third, cut one input, just one. Not a digital detox, not a screen-free weekend. One source of information that consistently drains more than it gives. Remove it. Not take a break from. Remove it. Maybe that's the news app. Maybe it's a group chat that functions more as a shared anxiety spiral than an actual conversation. Maybe it's the account you follow that makes you feel bad about yourself every single time. But something about it is compelling in the way that a slow-motion car crash is compelling. One thing, gone. Notice whether the world deteriorates as a result, or whether, as is almost certain, life continues at roughly the same pace with slightly less noise. The fourth, have one real conversation. Not over text, not a voice note. Actually speak to a person in real time where you can both hear the hesitation, and the silences mean something. The quality of our close relationships is, consistently, the strongest predictor of well-being. Stronger than income, stronger than health, stronger than the productivity systems you've convinced yourself you'll actually maintain this time. Not the number of interactions, the quality. Text and social media give us the simulation of connection with a fraction of the nourishment. They are the vending machine version of human contact. Fast, available, and unsatisfying in a way you don't notice until you realize you've been lonely while technically talking to people all day. Call someone you actually like, not to fix anything, not to vent efficiently, just to talk. It will feel almost offensively simple, and it will help more than most of the things on this list. The fifth is sleep, and I know you know this. Sleep deprivation, even moderate chronic sleep deprivation, degrades emotional regulation, amplifies anxiety, and reduces your ability to make decisions. A bad night's sleep doesn't just make you tired, it makes you a worse version of yourself and then convinces you that's just who you are now. Same bedtime most nights. No phone in bed. Not less phone, no phone. Room cold and dark. Alcohol, for all its apparent sedative qualities, reliably destroys sleep quality. None of this is a revelation. It's just the stuff that works. If nothing else on this list feels accessible right now, and sometimes nothing does, start here. Nearly everything is harder to fix when you're running on nothing. Nearly everything is more manageable with rest. And the sixth, the 10-minute rule for whatever you're avoiding. There's usually at least one thing sitting at the edge of your life, untouched for weeks. An email, a phone call, a decision you haven't made, a form. It adds a quiet tax to everything else. A low hum of unfinished business that colors everything around it. You're not avoiding it because you're lazy. You're avoiding it because your brain has built it into something enormous, and starting feels like the hardest part of starting, which it is. Set a timer for 10 minutes, open the thing, work on it, only that for 10 minutes with zero obligation to finish. What usually happens is one of two things. The task is smaller than it felt, and you finish it. Or it isn't, but you've started. And starting removes most of the weight. The goal isn't to fix everything. The goal is to stop paying rent on things you haven't dealt with yet. Here's the honest version of where we've landed. Some of what feels impossible is distorted. The output of an overloaded, overstimulated brain interpreting ordinary difficulty as catastrophe. That part is fixable, slowly with the kind of small, unglamorous actions we just went through. But some of it is real. The pressures are real. The uncertainty is real. The gap between the life you were told to expect and the one you're actually living is real. No morning routine resolves that. What these things do is give you enough ground to stand on that you can look at the real problems without crumbling. That's not nothing. Most days, that's everything. If something here landed, or if you found yourself nodding at something you'd never quite been able to put into words, share it with someone. Not for the algorithm, just because some things are easier to hear from a screen than from a person who loves you and has some stake in the answer.